Well, Merry Christmas, one and all, and good cheer to every young boy and girl. It's nearly Christmas time, and you're listening to the Not Yet Adults podcast.
Why are you here? Why are you not out listening and doing Christmas stuff and spending time with the family and the friends? And like why are you on the podcast app? I don't know why you're here, but we appreciate it.
You shouldn't be listening to the podcast, or maybe you're listening to this after it's Christmas time, but we're glad you're here. And my name is Eric Zayas, and my friend over here is Collin Geffrey, and this is a podcast, of course, where we talk about being an adult and how we're figuring out things as we get older.
It's true, or rather, learning to be an adult. I wouldn't say either of us are fully. We're still cooking. We're still kind of in the oven, but yeah, it's sort of a process. It's a week by week, day by day sort of thing. One thing we should probably say right now, just to get this out there, is of course we know not all of our listeners celebrate Christmas. Some folks celebrate other holidays. You have Hanukkah, you have Kwanzaa, things like that. Eric and I both celebrate Christmas, which is why this is a Christmas episode. But of course, if you're celebrating something else, we hope that goes well for you as well.
Yes. Our this podcast is primarily about our experiences, and since our only experiences are with Christmas, that's primarily what we're going to talk about today. And oh boy. Ho, 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 what an episode will be. Merry Christmas.
What an episode. We did I know we did a Thanksgiving episode. Did we do a Halloween episode?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so we're kind of keeping the holiday tradition going. I guess the next one would be like maybe New Year's? I don't know how much there really is to say about New Year's, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Eric, it is Christmas.
As we're recording this.
Right this very second, this is actually live. People don't know this. We're actually live streaming this. That's not true. That's not real. So yeah, I mean, Christmas is, it's. I don't want to say the MacGuffin, but it's sort of the big holiday that everyone else trying to aspire to be. Like we have that going. It's always on the horizon. That's like, it marks the end of the year. It marks sort of the culmination of the months of holiday prep leading up to it. It's very much the final boss of the year.
I would go as far to say it dominates this time of year. Whether you like it or not, it's everything's Christmas. Like as soon as Halloween ends, as soon as the midnight between the 31st of October and the 1st of November begins, people are just like in Christmas mode. Stores are selling Christmas lights and decorations. They totally ignore Thanksgiving. I mean, like decoration wise, there's still like fall themed decorations, like some turkey stuff, some maple leaf color changing stuff, but mainly it's like, okay, it's Christmas now.
I don't want to come across as like a Scrooge, but I feel like it's almost to an obnoxious degree. Like it reminds me of like when you're a kid and it's like mid-late June and you're just starting summer vacation, and then you go to Target and you see there's back to school sales happening, and you're like, no, why are you here this early? This is not right. That's how this year I've kind of felt about Christmas. Of like, it just felt like it started really early, and like the music in particular, I'm noticing, just feels like it's going on way too long, and like, I don't know. I some people have called me a Scrooge before, and I don't know if it'd go that far, but it definitely has been on my mind lately. How long and in such a high volume Christmas stuff's been going on this year.
It's funny. I think the back to school promotional marketing and the Christmas marketing both change based on how you're older, kind of in opposite ways in a sense. Like when you're really young, like a kid, and you see back to school stuff happening in mid or early August, you kind of like cringe. You're like, no, I'm not ready to accept it yet. But when you're a kid and you see like Christmas decorations and holiday decorations in early November, you're like, yes, I can't wait, I'm excited. And then as you get older, you see like in early August or mid-August, you see like back to school stuff, and like maybe for a second there'll be that tinge of like but then you'll remember that you're no longer in school, and you're like, oh god, it's a sigh of relief. So it has some sort of satisfaction to it. Beyond that, you're pretty neutral to it. It's not like, oh, I'm excited for fall because of this back to school stuff. It's just like, oh, this doesn't apply to me or affect me.
Well, and fast forward even more when you're a parent, you're like, oh, I can, save a little bit of money buying it because they have all these sales. So it actually becomes a good thing in time.
And like you'll know that when school starts, you'll have your kids out of the house for at least a couple hours on a regular basis. That's pretty exciting. But as you get older, when you start to see Christmas decorations, it's like, ugh, I'm gonna have to spend a whole bunch of money soon, and figure out time to buy presents and wrap them, and figure out what I'm gonna get for everyone, and organize parties, or attend the necessary amount of parties. And there's gonna be all this like Christmas stuff shoved in my face, and all these movies, and all this music that's very repetitive, played over and over again, that I've heard every year.
Happy holidays from Not Yet Adults. No, but I mean, you touched on something really interesting there that I definitely do want to dive into, and that's sort of that feeling of, like, sometimes Christmas almost feels like it's less about celebration and more about obligation. But before we do that, I kind of want to sort of rewind time a little bit and go back to little baby Eric and little Colin Jeff when we were but wee lads. And I'm curious, how did you enjoy Christmas as a kid? What was kind of your methodology there? Did you look forward to it every year? Was it a really big deal?
When I was a young lad, I used to believe in Santa Claus. I'm not afraid to admit it. Spoiler alert, turns out he's not real. Sorry if there's any children listening.
I was forget about children, man. I was holding out hope.
That's a little dose of reality thrown in your face, but Santa Claus isn't real. It's a little embarrassing. I believed in Santa Claus a little bit long. I mean, like, whether I actually believed him or not, like, when I was finally told that it wasn't real, is up for debate. But I think I was like, I wanted to believe in some magic, you know what I mean? I wanted to, like, I don't think I really believed in him, but, like, now this is becoming a therapy session. But anyways, whatever. Regardless of the existence of Santa Claus or not, when I was a young boy, Santa Claus, Jesus. Now I won't stop talking about. When I was a young boy, Christmas was a very, and still is, to a degree, a fun time in the Zayas household. I'm not saying it's not fun now. It's just it was more. We got more into the festival. Like, there were more decorations, and we were all constantly watching like Christmas movies and listening to music, like holiday songs and whatnot. And we had like we used to have like real Christmas trees, which like we stopped doing because it's every year it's a huge mess and a nightmare to get in the house. And it's also like you're killing a tree every time. I mean, trees have already been killed for you, but based on supply and demand, the more you buy, the more they're gonna kill. But anyways, Christmas, I think, is one of the most successful holidays because it plays on the childhood imagination the best. Like, the mythos behind it is like almost like a genre of fantasy. You know what I mean? There's this magical man of the North Pole that lives with a bunch of elves, and they build toys so that once a year this magical man can get on this sleigh with these flying reindeer, flying animals, and go around the world delivering presents. Like, that's cool, and that's why there's so many like books and television movies based around it. And it's like, it's kind of like magic based fiction. There are rules to it, but beyond those rules and beyond like the familiar look to it, you can go anywhere with it. As long as it's a red suit and a bearded fat man and they're flying reindeer and elves and so on and so forth. As long as you got all those key elements, you can go anywhere with it. So my sister and I would love like imagining what Santa Claus looks like and how he gets in the house and how he delivers presents so fast every year. It was a great time.
See, I'm with you there. I totally buy into it's kind of geared towards children, and it's sort of about creating this almost magical day. Everything from the sparkling wrapping paper to the best food you've had all year to telling stories and music and all this stuff. Like, it's almost supposed to be larger than life. Like, this one day, it's like we're gonna make this like literally the day you've been waiting for all year. But to your point, I think a lot of that is sort of the magic that's oriented towards kids of this idea of Santa and this idea of it has to happen while you're asleep, and so you kind of have to take it on faith and stuff like that. I feel like that's what made Christmas really special when you're a kid, is sort of that magic, as you put it. And I feel like as you get older, it every year it loses a little bit, like it's like what's it like? It's like being backstage for like a show or a theater performance or something, where like you see how the sausage is made, so to speak. And like it's not that isn't interesting and that doesn't have value. It usually does, but it also kind of cheapens it a little bit because you start to look at it as like, oh, I understand how that happened, or oh, I get that, or oh, this is actually just that. Like, you start picking it apart because you're a little bit more analytical as you get older.
And I think we talked about this a little bit before, but it's the idea of when you're a kid, you can play with your toy, and it's the most amazing thing ever. But when you get older, like all of a sudden you're holding the same toy you used to play with as a kid, and this doesn't do anything for me. I can't play with this. It seems childish, and like I can't imagine like an adventure or like some sort of like epic like superhero fight with these toys. It's just not, the magic isn't there anymore. Not saying imagination is dead, so to speak, but that childhood imagination and how wild it was is a lot more tame, I should say.
No, absolutely. And like I don't want to project for you, but I know for me, like I grew up, we were, depending on the year, we were middle to lower middle class, as far as like my family's income and stuff went. And as I got older, like we never went hungry. We were always fine, but like we would have to budget for Christmas. That was something like they'd put away for months leading up to so that we could pay for presents and stuff. And I remember as I got older being more and more aware of like how much we were spending at Christmas. Not that we were necessarily spending more, but I was just becoming aware of it. And I couldn't tell you what age I was, but I remember like I got all these like Pokemon cards for Christmas or something. And I just remember thinking like there's probably like almost $100 worth of Pokemon cards here. And like I don't need this. Like, this is a bunch of pieces of cardboard, very similar to a bunch of other pieces of cardboard I already have. And, like, what could this better have been spent on, Like, I understand it's the gesture. It's my parents and my family wanted to do something nice for me, but we could have spent this money on a lot of other things. And, like, I don't really need this at the end of the day. And I don't know. Maybe that's when Christmas changed for me, was when I realized, like, oh, wow, people are spending a lot of money on stuff you really don't need, oftentimes. So I don't know. I feel like that's, for me, that at least feels like a turning point in Christmas, when you realize how much money and how much time others are spending on you. And it shouldn't be a bad thing. It's a good thing. But I don't know. There's always like an underlying sense of guilt for me when it comes to Christmas, of like, thank you so much, but I really didn't need this. I would have been happy just us having dinner together and maybe going to a movie or something,
Yeah, I think that kind of seamlessly transitions to the next part that I want to talk about, where is like Christmas as we get older, where like you said, you realize like how much you're spending, and because you're like, when you're a kid, you don't really buy Christmas presents like a real young kid. Maybe like you like make something, and I think parents appreciate that even more when you made something because it's like unique, like a little craft project, like a card with like glitter and stuff like that, or something to that effect. But then when you get older, you start to save up for and buy actual gifts, and then when you become an adult, like you and I are, when you have a lot of people to buy gifts for, and you want to buy like decent gifts that they'll actually use, like it gets expensive.
Well, it absolutely gets expensive. And like, it also, I mean, going back to what you said earlier, it feels kind of like an obligation of like, I know these people are going to get me something, so I'm going to get them something. And I feel like I'm saying that in the wrong way. It's not that I don't like getting them things. It's that I feel like we could take the money that we're spending on getting gifts for each other and just have a nice day together instead of buying things that maybe we don't really need. Like, I know, at least in my position, like, I haven't asked for something for Christmas in maybe 4 or 5 years. Like, I haven't specifically said I want this for Christmas. And so my folks usually just like, they get me some clothes and they give me a little bit of money, and I'm like, that's great. But oftentimes the clothes aren't really stuff that I particularly want, because I'm very particular when it comes to stuff I wear. And like, they're spending money on me for things that they know it's to show like, oh, we care about you, so we wanted to get you something. Like, and I appreciate that. But also like, the obligation that comes with that is like, okay, now I have to like it. Or now I have to, it's that feeling of like, you're opening the present and you like, even if you do like it, it's like that feeling of like, okay, now act surprised and act excited,
Every Christmas morning when I'm opening presents, I always feel bad about my reaction, because it's not that I'm not completely thrilled with what I've gotten. It's just that when I was a kid, I was very more exaggerative with my like reaction. And now as an adult, I'm like, yes, sweet. And that's like the biggest reaction that's the biggest natural reaction. Anything beyond that is like disingenuous. And I always feel like, oh, I gotta kind of like beef it up a little bit. I gotta add a little bit flame under the fire. And it's just like, I'd rather just like kind of be more calm about it, and that's just not.
It's not the day. It's not a day about being calm. It's a day about literally the most exaggerated versions of everything.
Doesn't seem like the right reaction. Whereas like when it's like a birthday gift, it's like, oh sweet, that, then like that seems like the right reaction. But Christmas, it's got to be like a huge reaction. You see all these like videos of these kids getting like their first video game console and literally screaming and running around. The parents love it, and I feel like parents miss that because I don't really do that anymore, and that's kind of sad. But that's
It's how in the Zayas household, how do you guys do presents? Do you do all at once? Do you do everybody takes turns, or like how do you guys open your presents?
we used to have the tradition, and I forgot if we still do it. I don't think we did it the last couple of years, but like on Christmas Eve, we would open one, and it would be a small one. And that's really more of a tradition just for my sister and I. My parents won't partake. But like as you get older, like I kind of in this mindset where like I can wait another day and open them all at once, instead of like opening one or if like I accidentally open up one present that's like a companion to another present, that's like, oh, then I know what the other present is, and it's not as like surprising. But
Just as a fun little like anecdote to slip in there real quick on the theme of opening up a companion gift, when I got my Game Boy Advanced for Christmas, I accidentally opened the present for a Game Boy Advanced game before the console. And so like I think it was like a Yu-Gi-Oh Game Boy game. I don't remember what it was. But like I opened it, my mom was like, you shouldn't have opened that one yet. And I was like, am I gonna die? Are they gonna kill me? Like, is this like you saw too much? Like, is this that moment?
where they slowly take out a Men in Black memory wiping pen. It's like, just look into this light real quick. Real quick, just to go back to when you said like you haven't for the last couple of years asked specifically for a gift. There was a time a few years ago where I started that tradition, like where I was like, I don't really want anything. But recently, like I've kind of stopped that. I mean, when I was a kid, I definitely had like compiled lists, and then I was like, I don't really want, like, get me whatever. And now as an adult, I'm like, well, I don't have like a list of things, but I know there's one thing I specifically want, and that this year was a Nintendo Switch. So I definitely asked for something, but I don't do the whole like, I mean, like now we do like Amazon wish lists, which is like basically a Christmas list. You compile it the whole year, you don't even realize it, and then like, well, my family's done, I think this is the first year they've done this. They said like, oh, is your Amazon wish list like updated? And I say, give me a sec, and then I check and like, yeah. And they say, oh, send me a link, and that's great because you don't know what they're going to get you. Although there is one thing I was looking at. And like when I went and checked my wish list a couple times, I clicked on this item, and I won't say what it is in case like one of my family members hears this and like knows that I know. But I clicked on it, and it said like someone bought this recently, and it was like Amazon gave me a warning, which makes sense because they don't want me to buy something and then immediately return it because it's already bought for me. But it's like Amazon knows that someone else looked at this wish list and then bought this item, most likely for this person, and it's just letting me know, which kind of spoils it, but is also like, okay.
It's interesting because there's so many deals on so many things this time of year that like if there's something like I have this lens I've been wanting to get for my camera for a long time. Like I haven't bought it yet, but I've seen it's gone on sale a couple times in the last couple months. And so I haven't asked for that for Christmas, but had I asked for that for Christmas and then like not been sure if someone was going to get it for me or not, and then I see a really good deal and I'm like, well, I need to pull the trigger on this right now. Like stuff like that of like, I think that's actually cool. Amazon's implementing that because you don't know who you're getting it from, but you know that, don't buy it now. You saw it on sale, but don't buy it because someone else already got it.
Speaking of lenses real quick, I just want to mention, because that reminded me of the Christmas video released through PLU's Marcom division. I saw it recently on Facebook, and it turned out really good, especially the scene you were talking about in particular where you use the special lens to make the Christmas lights like shine.
Yeah, we bought like a $50 star filter for the thing.
The star filter, yeah. The whole thing turned out really good, I thought, and I'm proud of you,
dude. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. It was a process. Josh Wiersma, who is the director of photography, he and I are similar in that we're both never satisfied with something we do. And so like we had like our post-mort talking about it where it was funny because like me and David, our biggest criticisms of it were all the things we were directly responsible for. So I was like, man, I should have had like a more cohesive vision on the directing, and Wirs was like talking about shots and David's talking about the idea. It was just funny that all the things we saw wrong with it were the things that we all did.
Well, I mean, like they say, you're your biggest critic. Like it's easier to look, at least from a creative standpoint, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but we'll get back to Christmas real soon. it's easiest to look at the problems you had, whereas when you see something that someone else responsible, you just like want to praise it and want to look at like all the great things about it rather than the things that went wrong. But
Well, and a little bit of a walk, stick with me, but I feel like this kind of ties back to what we were saying earlier of when you have that magic of looking at something from the outside, it's very much like, oh, that's so cool. That looks so great. Like with Christmas, when you don't understand it, it's like this is so magical. But then when it's your thing, when you're on the inside, when you're in backstage or whatever on whatever the thing is, you're like, oh man, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. I wish I could fix that. And so it is kind of being critical about yourself. But the reception to it's been good. I really appreciate you saying you liked it, and some other people have mentioned that they thought it turned out well. And you know, you're always going to have things that you would have changed, but overall, I think it turned out as well as it could have.
I think it was a great success, and I think it showed the true meaning of spirit of Christmas. Oh my God, I can't talk. It showed the true spirit of Christmas, which is to give rather than receive. Well, now that we're back to Christmas, and we talked about the ghosts of Christmas past and the ghosts of Christmas present, so to speak, let's talk a little bit about the ghosts of Christmas future and how we're all going to die someday.
So here's the thing. I want to dive right in on this, sort of looking ahead to what Christmas will be. I think it's we talk about in my family, we go around in a circle and we each open a gift one at a time. And so I'll have a gift, and then my sister will have a gift and stuff like that. And there's I appreciate it when people get stuff for me. I personally enjoy giving stuff to others way more. But there is that pressure when it's your turn and everyone's watching you and you're opening the gift and you're like, okay, I have to be excited, you know? And that kind of takes me out of it. And I think as we get older, and I hate to say this, but I think that's going to get worse because as we move out and as we go to our separate walks of life, and then you either drive or you fly back home for the holidays, probably to spend Christmas with each other. Now you don't have weeks to enjoy these gifts together. You're like home for a few days. And we have to push all this magic that when we all lived together, we had months building up to. But we have to cram all of this importance and magic and festivity we do about the holidays into like 3 or 4 days. And now suddenly everything is like in a pressure cooker. And you're like, we have to make all of this work right now, you know?
Speaking really quick, sorry to take it back, but as far as the stocking stuffers go, does your family have specific stocking stuffers?
Yeah, my folks will typically, I think like Trader Joe's is their big thing. So like a week or two before Christmas, they'll go to Trader Joe's and they'll get stocking stuffers. So they'll get like some foods, and for me, there's usually some tea, and there's maybe like a DVD or two of like some movies we wanted to see or something. But yeah, it's usually just like food and stuff like that. What about you? Do you guys have specific stuff?
Yeah, it's like basically the same couple of gifts every year, or the same type of gifts every year, which is great because there's some consistency in that. It's usually a bag of candy, which we've learned through, through trial and error, mostly error, to put in right before we're gonna open the stockings. Because if you leave it there overnight and like you put the fire on, it melts, and that's not good. There's a DVD for a movie, and a gift card. I think those 3 things, and everyone's stocking. And it's so really the only thing changes. I guess over the years the gift card type has changed for sure. I used to be into Zoomies, and so I'd get a Zoomies gift card, but I don't shop there anymore. So I think now it's just like an Amazon gift card, which is great because it's basically like the equivalent of just giving someone money and saying, "Here, you spend it on what you want." And I'm like, great. Well, I know exactly what I want. But also the movie obviously changes every year, and it's kind of like your parents like letting you know that they're paying attention to what you're into that year and saying like, okay, but you saw this movie and you really loved it, so here's the DVD. So I'm like, yeah.
Which the movie in particular, I feel like, is a good way to sort of be like, hey, I'm paying attention to your life and the stuff you're interested in. I typically, I don't always have time for this, but my general philosophy when it comes to gifts is I don't want to give them just something that they will like. I want to give them something that both of us like, or that we have some sort of common ground with. And so like for my sister's birthdays in particular, but Christmas too, I'll get her like, I got her like La La Land pop vinyl figures. And like she loves La La Land, but we saw that together, and that was like a bonding experience for us. So like something that both of you have in common, I like giving as gifts. And the movie in particular you mentioned, I feel like that's a cool opportunity to be like, hey, this is a movie you wanted to see that you haven't yet. Maybe we can watch this together. Not in like a weird strings attached kind of way, but just like, hey, this is a way for us to. I'm not just giving you a movie. I'm giving us an opportunity to spend some time together. And I like that. But you mentioned gift cards, which I feel like is becoming more and more common as we get older, because it's like I don't want to like explain this camera lens that I want that no one's going to enjoy buying, that they might get the wrong type. It's like just give me a gift card. But then also it's like, okay, well they don't really get the satisfaction of giving you a gift. They just give you this card that's like maybe you spend it at some point. I don't ever really see the payoff from that, you know?
Yeah, the gift card or like just giving someone money as a gift is kind of, especially the money is a little impersonal, but it's seen as kind of like a non-gift to a lot of people. Like you're not really, there's not a lot of thought going into it, and there's no way to prove that you like know anything about the person. You just give them something that they could spend. But it's also, the way I see it is like it's recognizing that this person has stuff that they want to get that they can't, like you're saying, really can't communicate to you, or like aren't sure of yet, or like will have in the future that they haven't even thought of yet, and it's giving them the opportunity to just like like next time they buy it, they'll have some relief.
It's kind of a selfless thing, because like you don't get to see them open it up and be like, oh my god, you got me that, I'm so happy. It is sort of like, I'm not going to get much enjoyment out of this, but I understand that it's not about what I want here. It's about what you want. And so in some ways, it actually very much is kind of like a selfless gift, or sort of like a very considerate gift. But it also just isn't like fun to wrap or fun to box up or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've kind of gone in circles a little bit, and I feel like that's appropriate because Christmas is kind of just like a chaotic time where a lot's going on. I don't know. I'd like to think it's going to get more enjoyable and easier as we get older, because I feel like teenage and adolescence and early adulthood in a lot of ways is kind of like a valley of like you're going through a lot of crap and you get it figured out, and then hopefully you kind of get your crap together after a while, and things are okay again.
It is exciting to know that in the future we'll have control over the holidays. You know what I mean? Like our parents, like throughout our childhood into our teenage years, kind of like determine how it goes. Which I mean, my parents, and I'm sure your parents have done a great job with that. But like the idea, like I'm not that I'm planning on being a parent soon, but as I get older, I feel like Christmas, besides like the obligatory parts, is sort of on my terms, and how I spend it with my friends and eventually with my own family, I get to sort of decide. I'm not, and there's this one element of it I'm like concerned about, and that's whether or not I want to tell my children if Santa Claus is real right off the bat, because I get that there's like a fun part of it, like, oh, Santa Claus is real, but I've always thought of it as sort of like a lie to your kids. And I don't know, when I'm a parent, or at least me right now sitting here, I kind of think like maybe I'll just tell them like, oh, Santa Claus isn't real, but a lot of people like to think he's real, so just go along with it.
Like as soon as they're old enough to like comprehend thought, you just sit down with them and have like the talk, but instead of the talk, it's like Easter Bunny is fake, Santa is fake. You just like go through every single one of them, and you're just like,
maybe that's a mean thing. So maybe a lot of people will hear that and be like, that's cruel. You're just robbing your kid of this like potential, magic. But I don't know, just like I don't want to lie to my kid. I don't want to look my kid in the face and be like, yeah, Santa Claus is definitely real and totally goes around once a year giving presents. I'd rather just say like, well, Santa Claus is more of an idea than a real thing, but don't tell anyone else that, because their parents will be pissed.
I think you kind of let them form their own conclusions. Like don't send them too strongly in either direction.
Well, they're gonna be like, I'm a kid, I don't know, you tell me.
I mean, if they have the self-awareness to say I'm a kid, I don't know, you tell me, they probably do have opinions. So like, because I've never met a kid that said I'm a kid, I don't know. Because like every kid freaking knows, or at least they think they do.
I guess that's the have your cake and eat it too solution. Just every time your kid asks whether Santa Claus is real, just dodge the question.
Just, I have to go to the dentist. I'm sorry, I can't talk about this right now.
That's my alarm. Gotta go. And they're like, I don't hear anything. And then you run out the house and don't come back for a few days.
And they're gonna grow up with like this inherent fear of asking anyone questions, because they're just gonna run out of the room. Anytime they ask a question, their parent just runs out of the room, and so they're never gonna ask anybody questions.
I'm gonna teach my kid, don't ask questions, or daddy leaves.
Well, on that note, I think this has been a very special episode of Not Yet Adults. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have like a feather in the cap here. Just enjoy Christmas, man. Go spend some time with your loved ones, or whatever holiday. Maybe it's Boxing Day if you're in the UK. Celebrate Boxing Day. Go do that. Well, folks, let us know. Do you celebrate Three Kings Day or Christmas or Boxing Day or Hanukkah or any holidays this time of year? We would love to hear about traditions that happen in your family and what's going on there. In the meantime, though, remember this has been the Not Yet Adults podcast that comes to you every Monday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and all sorts of podcast services. We're also on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Not Yet Adults, as well as on our own subreddit, r/Not Yet Adults, which you should check out if you have the time. If you have a little bit more time this holiday season and you want to give us a little present, you can head on over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating or review there. It just takes a couple minutes out of your day, but it is an enormous help because that helps us get discovered and it helps us chart on lists a little bit easier and people can stumble upon this little podcast that we do, which is cool because we spend a lot of time on this and we'd love to get it in front of even more people to grow this community a little bit. We'll be back this Friday, I'm sure very tired and very fat from all of just the wide variety of food. There's so much freaking food, Eric. I don't know how to do all this food. So much, but we'll be here. We will be here, and I'm sure we'll have lots to say about how the holidays went for us, and we hope they go well for you as well. So thank you so much for listening, and until next time, this has been Not Yet Adults.
Bye bye.